Hey guys, what's up? It's Mishi here. I just want to say, when I recorded that video about sharing my story about borderline personality disorder, I figured there would be, a few people, maybe at most 10 people, that would understand my story, would see it, and maybe respond to me or try to get in touch with me. And I just gotta say, the response that I've received both from friends and family members that I've shared it with, and all of you guys, my subscribers, and the ones who came to my channel because of the borderline personality disorder story, I just want to say that you guys make me so happy, and I know that sorry, I'm outside. It's such a beautiful day. I just wanted to say that I'm so thankful, and I'm so happy that I am able to help you guys out in explaining it and making you feel like you're not alone, and that's like the whole point of why I decided to share it. Yeah, there's just been so many people, so many nice, inspiring comments. I've gotten to talk to so many of you personally, and yeah, together we can fight this scary, unknown illness that a lot of people are still fairly ignorant about. I mean, I've gotten a couple of negative comments, but I kind of figured that would happen. A lot of people are apprehensive or have heard only bad things about borderline personality disorder. Maybe one of their exes or someone they used to know that they don't really like has borderline personality disorder. So that's why I wanted to share this video about kind of busting myths surrounded by borderline personality disorder. A lot of these you may know, some of these you may not have heard of, but just kind of through my experience the last few years, telling people about it, their responses, and yeah, so here we go. So myth number one is that all people with borderline personality disorder are inherently evil. Yeah, I just gotta say, that is probably the furthest thing I've heard from the truth. And yes, I may be a little bit biased because I have borderline personality disorder. And of course, no one really wants to think that they're evil, but I genuinely don't find that I'm evil myself, nor are people with borderline personality disorder. We do have a lot of characteristics that are seen as undesirable, maybe even malicious, but our intentions are not overall just to better ourselves. We want to better ourselves for other people, and that's why we want to work on these damaging behaviors. I think that we actually care a strong deal, maybe more in some cases than others, because we do have such the strong, passionate ability to really feel and feel all these emotions. That's why we do display a lot of negative emotions, but the positive emotions, we truly do care about the people in our lives. And when these relationships end or something is to happen, that just further makes us more unstable. We don't want to be the ones hurting. We actually take it out on ourselves a lot of the times, and that's why I feel like a lot of people with BPD have a lot of like self-hatred and self-misunderstanding. It's because we don't want to accept the fact that we're this person that is seen as evil. And even a lot of the recommended videos for borderline personality disorder, when you look it up, a lot of the stories are like, oh, my psycho BPD ex-girlfriend, or I met people with BPD and they're so crazy, or fuck all these people with BPD because you guys are never gonna get better. I've heard these things before, and I'm like, no, no, that's not true. And it's definitely something that I can understand from a certain point of view if you've only met one or two people with BPD, and these things come out when we are in one of our mood states. It's not our intention, and we do deeply care about people, especially those people that are close to us, and we don't put ourselves first, which I feel like is the root cause of evilness, I guess, is only looking out for yourself. So yeah, so none of that. I'm sure you guys, if you have BPD, you will understand that we're not evil. So number two, the second myth, is more of like, I feel, general misunderstanding. It's not a point or a fact. I feel as though BPD is often very confused with other personality disorders. I feel like people use it as an umbrella term, and so people have the BPD characteristics, but honestly, it's personality disorders come in very different ways. There's narcissistic personality disorder, which, if you know what narcissism is, it's a person that cannot really display or show any empathy for others except for themselves. They find that they are the most interesting person, and that's all they'll talk about is themselves. They'll use others for personal gain. So that is sometimes confused with BPD as well, which is also probably, it's also probably why people think we're evil. There's also histrionic personality disorder, which means that they have like kind of an undying need for attention. Now you also see that with BPD, and people that see people that self-harm, they always just assume it's a cry for attention or a cry for help or look at me, look at me. But histrionic personality disorder is the mind's way of needing attention, probably from earlier childhood experiences where they weren't received enough care at home, and nature and nurture manifests itself into this disorder. There's also antisocial personality disorder, which is kind of similar to narcissistic personality disorder, but antisocial is actually not what we assume it is, where we think antisocial means you just like to stay at home and get by yourself. Antisocial personality disorder means you like and enjoy seeing people hurt, and you have no empathy or care or any feelings towards anyone else whatsoever other than for personal gain. So look that up. I'll put some links down below, so you guys can look at all the different personality disorders and see for yourself. They also like to, as in psychiatrists, they like to put personality characteristics in these clusters. So there's cluster A, cluster B, cluster C, cluster D, with a variety of characteristics, and they'll usually try to see which cluster that person fits in. If not, they'll usually just diagnose that person with a personality disorder not otherwise specified. So that's number 3 is courtesy of a movie, which I honestly have to say is really amazing, despite its inaccurate portrayal of borderline personality disorder. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the movie Girl Interrupted. It's where Angelina Jolie won her Oscar. She played a sociopath. The main character, played by Winona Ryder, is Susanna Kaysen, who also wrote the book Girl Interrupted, which I feel like is a lot better representation of what BPD really is, because she's able to narrate it and describe these feelings that aren't necessarily seen in the film adaptation. So in the film adaptation, they kind of make it seem like BPD is just kind of a disorder, especially for girls, mostly for girls that they gave it to, that they feel like they need to hurt themselves. And the other aspect of it was that she really enjoyed having promiscuous sex with multiple partners. Now, there is that characteristic of borderline personality disorder where we like to engage in impulsive and reckless behaviors, which can include unsafe sex or sex with multiple partners, but that's not the kind of what it always manifests itself into, you know? Like, I personally am not promiscuous or anything, and I know a lot of people with borderline personality disorder, there's other ways that we can take out our impulses, I guess. But since a lot of people have seen that movie, they think it's just that people with BPD, they just think that people with BPD are just crazed sex nymphomaniacs, and that's not necessarily true at all. There is definitely the addiction aspect to it, because sexual addiction is an actual thing, obviously, as with porn, compared to drugs and alcohol. All of it can manifest itself, even shopping, food, binge eating disorder. So with all of that being said, it's not just about sex. So if you meet a girl that has borderline personality disorder, no, she's not going to just automatically want to have sex with you. Yeah, so PSA. Number 4 is kind of the methods in which a person takes to make themselves better. So treatment. A lot of people think that BPD is kind of a therapist's worst nightmare, which is kind of stigmatizing for sure. So I feel as though if you're a therapist, you should be equipped to handle any kind of disorders. I know a lot of therapists specialize in DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, which is the most, which has the highest percentage of success among BPD patients. And the reason that people think that it's a therapist's worst nightmare is because we attach to people, and we experience that feelings of ideation, which is just like, I love this person, like everything we can just do is just amazing, and I want to spend all my time with them. And then if they were to cancel or reschedule or something, it goes back to the devaluation, which means I don't like this person, I don't want anything to do with them, they kind of left me, all of that. So people think that borderline patients will attach to their therapist always and make it impossible for the therapist to go about their other lives, because I guess we kind of like suck it in. And that's also like also not very true, or an exaggeration, that everyone in our lives is just controlled by us. We don't really like to control people at all. We don't even know how to control ourselves. But therapy, especially now in the last 10 years or so, BPD has definitely spiked, which I don't know if that's the BPD itself or that more people are getting diagnosed. It's become more recognizable, so more doctors know about it. It's easier to fix. So I don't think that therapists find us to be a nightmare or anything. I think that a lot of therapists are now choosing to specialize in BPD. My therapist specialized in BPD, and when she found out I had BPD, she was really excited because she knew that she was able to help me through it. So don't ever feel, especially if you have BPD, that you don't want to get help because you're worried that you're going to become a nightmare. No, fuck that. That's just people being negative, you know? And I assure you that if you find the right therapist, then all will go well. And it's not going to be a nightmare. Trust me. Number 5, the final myth, so you could say, is that people with BPD either don't want to get better or never will get better. People think that we enjoy being this way or something, or we don't recognize that there's a problem. I think a lot of people see people with BPD and automatically assume that they're not trying to get help because they're not actively being better every week or so. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, Michelle, like you're still like this, and it's like, I'm getting better every day, and slowly but surely, weeks pass, months pass, years pass, and it does slowly get better. It's just a process. So when people feed us this bullshit and they say we're not going to get better, or we can't, or we don't want to, even though we are physically just trying to fight for the right to get help, to get the right help, and to have others supporting us, I don't know. And again, most people, once they hear about BPD and they do a little bit of research, they understand what the root cause is, and that we are not all of these things. We are more than just the myths and the categorizations and the stereotypes surrounding BPD. So that's where I'm going to end off. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope to hear from more of you soon. Always share me your stories. I may not reply right away, but I promise I'll get back to you. And yeah, bye.